So last night, the Heat were down 15 going into the fourth quarter versus the Spurs, but then they erupted on a 19-3 run to retake the lead less than halfway through the quarter. However, after that, as we approached clutch time, we were quickly reminded about how much of a concern this Heat's half-court offense is. And the rest of the game, they played some pretty sloppy basketball that was very reminiscent of last season. I've done multiple videos breaking down film about the positives of this fast-paced offense, but today I want to dive into what went wrong as the game slowed down during clutch time. Of course, we can expect things to look different once the Heat get back Norman Powell and Tyler Hero, and if you're excited about those guys returning, then you can go on FanDuel right now, the sponsor of today's video, and bet on Tyler Hero to win Finals MVP at plus 40,000. $5 would win you 2,000. Now, would I bet that? Hell no, because it's not going to happen. But there is a lot of Tyler Hero stans that would, because if there's anything about his fans, they fan hard. And I do appreciate their passion. So no hate to the Tyler Hero stans. I do like Tyler Hero myself. In fact, I do think he will help this Heat's clutch offense quite a ton. You just have to hope that he can lock in enough defensively to make up for what Drew and Davion are bringing on that side of the ball. So I want to start with this play right here where the Heat have the ball up one. They have a chance to build on their lead. But what you're going to see is a pretty stagnant offense resulting in an ugly three-point attempt for Bam Adebayo. I want to note how on this clip, as well as most of the videos you see today, the Heat won't actually get a shot off until there's less than 10 seconds on the shot clock. And if you compare that to the last film breakdown we did, which was against the Hornets, the Heat got a shot off almost every 7 seconds in that game. But right now you can see a pretty good example of how the game slows down as we approach clutch time situations. The play is going to start with Drew Smith trying to take Harrison Barnes ISO, which are words that I never want to hear. Drew Smith should never be trying to take anybody in isolation, but that just goes to show how things would be a little bit different if you had a Norman Powell or Tyler Hero out there who are a little bit better at breaking down their defenders. The spacing here isn't great because you're going to see right away as Fontecchio comes to set a screen on the right side of Barnes, Wiggins is also going to roll up. So that renders this screen by Fontecchio kind of useless because if Smith wanted to use it, well, now you have Julian Champagnie here that could just step up, and it's just not great spacing at this point. So eventually they're going to realize that both guys are going to kind of clear out and give Drew Smith space to operate. But that's not what Drew Smith wants to do. He's not a guy you want dribbling the ball, especially when you have a guy like Harrison Barnes who is pretty lanky. So Drew Smith can't really attack him because Barnes does a nice job to recover. And at this point, there's only 9 seconds left on the shot clock. So Bam Adebayo, to his credit, is trying to be aggressive in terms of taking shots. I know we would like to see him maybe get to the rim a little bit more, but it's tough when you have a Wembanyama out here. I am just kind of happy that Bam wasn't shy away from at least shooting the ball, because in the past, he would shy away from that. You do wish he would get a little bit closer on this three-point attempt. For as much as we give him credit for developing that jump shot, there's still way too many occasions where he's banking shots off the backboard. And just a guy like Chris Bosh would never do that once Bosh got his jump shot going. So I know it's tough comparing Bam to somebody who is as elite at shooting as Bosh was, but that is kind of the route that we're hoping he can take in terms of transitioning his game from that mid-range game to the three-point line. Although Bosh came into the league a much better mid-range shooter as well. But point is, I don't think Bam is quite where we want him to be in terms of his three-point shooting skill level. So just a bit of clanky offense right here. And that kind of continues on the next possession where the Heat are still up one. This time I think Bam Adebayo just gets a great look, but it's about as ugly an attempt as the other one was. Last time he drew all backboard. This time he drew nothing but air. Maybe it skimmed the rim at the end, but just an ugly finish from Bam, although I don't hate the shot attempt because he is wide open there from the jump. Drew Smith, to his credit, does get a pretty nice drive in here to draw on the defense. The part I don't like is how Fontecchio cuts at the same time, so this paint is very crowded. However, Wembanyama does decide to gamble on the drive, resulting in Bam Adebayo being wide open. And honestly, that's just the shot he has to hit. Up one, you're approaching clutch time, you're wide open. I would like to see Bam hit that one, or at the very least, don't airball. Maybe give you guys a chance to get the offensive rebound, but that's not what we saw on this possession. And on this next possession, now with the Heat down 2, they actually did get a pretty good look that is similar to the high-tempo stuff that we've been praising them for. Drew Smith just isn't able to knock down the shots, and the Heat aren't able to get the loose ball. Jaime Jaquez, I think, does a pretty decent job up top here, breaking down his defender and Stephon Castle, who's an elite defender. So I want to give Jaime a lot of credit here for being able to go to his left hand, being able to draw 3 defenders in the paint, and then he has a perfect kick out pass to Drew Smith, who is shooting like 50% from 3 this year. So he's been knocking down the open ones. That's just not what you got this time. But overall, I have no complaints about this offensive possession. It's just unfortunate the Heat have 2 guys go to the ground, but the Spurs defender is the one that ends up with the loose ball. And now on the next possession is when things started to slip away with the Heat down 5. But you're going to see another very great aggressive take from Jaime. Although he had a rough offensive night, I do like that he wasn't scared of being aggressive down the stretch, as he's once again going to take Stephon Castle right to the rim. There's a great spin move to get right back inside and draws the foul. And I think he ended up hitting both free throws. But again, he was trying to be early and aggressive again. Still 18 seconds on the shot clock, 17 now. He's going to penetrate the 3-point line and does a great drive on Castle. You're going to see the good spacing on the outside here as Champagnie has to run back out to guard Fontecchio, who's proven himself to be lethal, and that's going to allow Jaime to spin back inside. So this was another good take by Jaime. So that would put the Heat down only 3 with about 4.5 minutes to go. But that's when we got the most back-breaking possession for the Heat, as Harrison Barnes would hit a 3 after an offensive rebound. I think the Heat did a decent job here defensively. It was more so just an unlucky bounce on the rebound than anything, because you could see here from the jump, this is solid zone defense. You got Davion at the top left, Wiggins at the top right, Bam in the middle, and then you're going to have Jaime in the bottom left and Fontecchio in the bottom right. The reason why Jaquez is so far high out of his zone is because there is no Spurs offensive player in his zone. So I think he does a nice job stepping up onto Wembanyama here, who they force into a tough fadeaway long 2. And then I also think that Fontecchio does a nice job putting his body on Champagnie for the rebound. It just so happens the ball is going to bounce in a way that lets Champagnie tip it out. It's unfortunate because you got 4 Heat defenders in the vicinity. It's just the ball didn't go any of their ways. Castle's going to get the ball. Davion does a nice job to step up. And then Fontecchio is going to try to run out to Barnes, but he's going to get screened by Champagnie right here, leaving Barnes wide open. I do think that Fontecchio was a little bit lost defensively here, because as soon as this ball was tipped out, he should have been immediately running out to Barnes there. Instead, he's kind of ball watching a little bit, but he's also a little bit slow laterally. That's going to allow Champagnie to get into that screening position to really block out Fontecchio. So while Fontecchio has been an awesome shooter for the Heat these first 4 or 5 games of the season, I do notice sometimes that his man gets a couple of open 3-pointers because he's trying to rotate out there. He's trying to show effort and switch like this Miami Heat defense likes to do. He's just not super fast, especially in a zone. He's not fast enough to recover to a lot of these shooters in the corner, especially in that first game versus the Magic where we saw Tristan Da Silva light him up, and there's been a few other moments like that throughout the year. But hey, if Fontecchio is going to shoot 95% from 3, if he's going to be Italian Steph Curry, he can afford to give up 1 or 2 of these threes. You just wish it wasn't at this point of the game. But the Heat would come right back with this very nice post hook from Bam Adebayo, something that we don't see that often. This is one of the rare occasions where he actually does convert out of the post, and he actually has some nice touch on that push shot. And also give him credit because, of course, that was right over Wembanyama. So that was a nice take by Bam. It's going to start with Jaime Jaquez initiating the offense again. He's going to give the ball to Bam, who doesn't settle for the face-up here. He doesn't settle for the 3-pointer. He is looking to be aggressive and get right into Wemby's chest here. Fontecchio is moving without the ball to try to make a play, but quickly he realizes that the spacing here isn't good because Champagnie could just help off and guard this Bam Adebayo jump hook. So once Fontecchio realizes that, he's going to clear out, go all the way back to the 3-point line. This, I think, is very good spacing and just great touch on the jump hook from Bam Adebayo. So I give him credit for this one as well. So now with the Heat down 6 and 3.5 minutes to go, I still don't think they're out of it, but this is when you're going to see things start to get really ugly for the Heat offense. This play here is going to be Davion Mitchell trying to go isolation on Julian Champagnie. And truth is, Davion Mitchell's handle is just not good enough to be an isolation player, and Champagnie's going to be able to get the rip right there. This is what we talk about the Heat not having a true facilitator. As good as Davion Mitchell's assist-to-turnover ratio has looked this season, a lot of that is because of the transition buckets. But when it comes time to be in a half-court offense like this, you're not going to see Davion break a defender down a ton. Not like a guy like Tyler Hero would. I know Davion a lot of times can blow defenders off the dribble and get right to the rim, but Champagnie's a solid defender, and so is pretty much everybody out here for the Spurs. So he was never really going to attack anybody this game because there was never really a mismatch for him, and that's going to allow Champagnie to get the rip, and the Spurs start their offense right away. The Heat would get the ball back, still still down 6, but unfortunately they would have back-to-back turnovers after some pretty poor spacing once again. Andrew Wiggins is going to get the ball up top here. And Andrew Wiggins was aggressive all game. He actually probably was the Heat's best player yesterday alongside Bam Adebayo. So I do appreciate him trying to be aggressive here. But in this case, he's trying to take the ball into Castle and Wemby, and it's just not much he could have did here. It almost does look like Wemby fouls him a little bit. You can see Wemby's hand outreached over Wiggins. But hey, he's Wembanyama. They don't call anything on him. The NBA Twitter account even posted his block from yesterday on Jaime Jaquez, and they said, how did he block this? He didn't. It was a goaltend. But I guess since Wemby is the greatest thing since sliced bread, he's going to get every single call in the book, including this one, which should have been a foul. But either way, you can see the spacing isn't great because Bam Adebayo is kind of open up here, but he had some pretty ugly threes at this point. They're just not respecting his shot, rightfully so, because in this game, he wasn't exactly hitting. And Fontecchio is also going to cut at this exact moment Wiggins is trying to drive. So even if Wiggins was to get past Wemby here, they would have Devin Vassell on the help. So there's really nothing that he could have did this possession except for Wiggins kicking it out to Bam. But I understand why Wiggins didn't want to do that, because by this point of the game, Wiggins was the only one scoring. But if the Heat could have just got one more stop, they still would have been in this game, except you're going to get another back-breaking three. This time it's Stephon Castle who knocks down the triple after some great ball movement from the Spurs. The play is going to start with the Heat's defense being kind of out of position. I actually think on this play, your best defenders in Bam and Davion are the ones who kind of messed up there. They had some miscommunication. I can't tell if the Heat were still in man or zone just because the Spurs got into their offense so early. But you can see Wiggins is going to help on Wemby here because Wiggins' man or whoever is going to occupy that zone is not back yet. But then Bam is going to pick him up after the loose ball. But then Bam kind of leaves him. Bam lets Wemby go to the corner when really Bam should have been tracking him the whole time and getting him to that corner. That way him and Davion could have trapped him together, or Davion could have sagged off and got back to Devin Vassell here and let Bam occupy Wembanyama in this corner. Instead, because Bam is just kind of standing here, he thought Wiggins was going to keep going. I guess he wasn't too sure. Wemby's going to hit Devin Vassell over the top here. Bam is now going to recover to guard Vassell, but Jaime doesn't know that Bam is going to recover. So then Jaime leaves his man Harrison Barnes to guard Vassell here on the baseline. So now that's going to leave Barnes open, which Fontecchio sees. So Fontecchio is already in motion, and to his credit, he does do a nice job rotating back to Barnes. That's going to mean Vassell is going to hit Champagnie wide open at the top. So Wiggins is going to recover to guard Champagnie, and that's how you get Stephon Castle being wide as open here. So this all starts with the miscommunication from the jump, where in my opinion, Bam should have never let Wembanyama go to the corner. He should have tracked him. Davion could have sagged off on Vassell, and that would have meant that everybody had their man, or they would have been in their zone, and that would have stopped the Heat from this poor rotation leading into the open Castle 3. So now the Heat are down 9 with 2.5 minutes to go. That building was rocking, and it got even more crazy after Wemby had this nasty block on Davion Mitchell, and Wemby's going to go coast to coast and finish for his alien-esque layup. Really nothing you can do about that, but from the jump, you're going to see Davion Mitchell try to attack the amazing perimeter defender in Stephon Castle. He's going to force him right to the rim where Wemby is there to just absolutely pin that shot. And this is just the same thing that we discussed earlier, where late in these games, you're not going to want Davion Mitchell as the guy to break down the defense. You're going to want that to be Tyler or Norman. And I guess Davion does kind of get past Stephon Castle a little bit here, but obviously he's not going to be able to finish at the rim over Wembanyama there. And that was just a very tough take for him. And yeah, it's just that he were trying to attack early. You know, there's still 16 seconds on the shot clock, but you don't quite have the personnel out there while your other guards are healthy to score in these late half-court sets, especially against a great defense like the Spurs. You know, against the Hornets, yeah, Davion's able to take his guys off the dribble, get to the rim. But against the Spurs and Stephon Castle and Wemby, no, you're just not going to see it. And now at this point, with the Heat down 11, about 2 minutes to go, all hope was basically lost. Wiggins did hit this nice step back three in early offense to kind of keep things a little bit interesting. But I just wish that he could have found a way to get back to this more throughout the second half of the fourth quarter. I know it's hard to keep that fast-paced tempo when things slow down in the clutch, but it's very clear how much that hurt the Miami Heat as opposed to plays like this where they got the ball down the court right away. Jaime's going to kick ahead to Wiggins, and right away Wiggins makes a move to hit the nice step back and create some pretty nice separation there to knock down the three early in the shot clock. So hopefully the Heat can still find ways to incorporate this type of play late in games so the offense doesn't slow down too much. And then the Heat are actually looking like they can turn it into a game as they get a steal, but then we see some pretty poor execution in transition. This is very reminiscent to the type of things we saw last season, where it's just not great spacing on the break there. The defense was okay. I mean, Wiggins does a nice job to recover here, and Bam and Fontecchio are ready to step up. So they force Vassell to make this pass a little bit hotter than he wanted to. Barnes still should have caught it, but I guess since the pass had too much heat on it, he kind of bobbles the ball, and that's going to start a fast break for Davion and Jaime in transition. But the bad part here is the spacing. Look how close these guys are to each other when this shot by Davion Mitchell goes up. So what that's going to allow is it's going to allow Stephon Castle to guard both people at once. And the whole point of a fast break is to run your lane properly and pass the ball early enough so the defender can't guard both people. I think that maybe Jaime should have slowed down a little bit so Davion could have had a lob to him, or vice versa. Davion should have slowed down a little bit, but they just kind of ended up running into each other, and it just wasn't that well executed a play in transition. Ideally, you want Jaime here, the more athletic, the more bigger guy, to be the one finishing at the rim. So they also should have timed up their passing a little bit better, so it could have ended that way. But you know, for the most part, the Heat have been good in transition this year. This is just one of the plays where they weren't. However, the Heat would retain possession and actually have a chance to make this a 2-possession game with about a minute to go, except this time you're going to see Bam with some pretty ugly footwork in the post. I know earlier he had a nice jump hook over Wemby. This time, not so much. I do appreciate Bam's aggression, where as soon as he catches the ball from Davion at the top of the key, he doesn't settle for this three-pointer because he knows he wasn't hitting in the second half. He does try to take the ball into Wemby's chest here. He throws in a nice pump fake, which you're going to see Wemby jump for. I don't know why Wemby is jumping. He's 7'5". He should never have to jump at any pump fakes. But what Bam doesn't do a great job is going into Wemby's chest after this pump fake. He could easily do the old D-Wade pump fake, go into the defender's chest, draw 2 free throws. But because his footwork isn't great, you're going to kind of see him step to the side a little bit. He really doesn't draw any contact on that. And that's something I want to kind of see him work on as he gets his back to the basket right here. He waits a little bit too long to go back into him. Is a little bit soft when trying to go through him. And I just would have liked to see better execution there from the post out of Bam Adebayo. But overall, I do applaud his aggression and at least not settling for the three-pointer there. But even then, the Heat would still get the rebound and have another chance to make it a 2-possession game with just a minute to go. But you're going to see another turnover from Davion Mitchell out of the half-court offense. This time he's going to have Devin Vassell on him. He does a nice job to blow past him, but Harrison Barnes makes a pretty nice play on the defensive end to knock the ball away from behind. And part of the reason that this happened is because look who Harrison Barnes is guarding from the jump. You're going to see he's on Jaime Jaquez, who he doesn't respect as a shooter because Jaime is not at that level yet. So that's going to allow him to completely leave his man wide open. And even if Jaquez was a shooter, that's a difficult pass for Davion to make because Jaquez is behind him. But it doesn't help that you know Barnes is going to leave. You know, if that was Norman Powell or Tyler Hero out there, maybe Barnes stays home a little bit more and he doesn't go for this steal. And that's going to allow Davion to get to the rim, draw Wemby, and then kick it out to Bam, who would have another open three-point attempt. If Bam doesn't want to shoot it, maybe Castle would run out to guard Bam, and then Bam could swing it to Wiggins at the top of the key here. So point is, if the spacing wasn't messed up from the jump, there is more they could have worked with because Davion did get past his initial defender. He did get that paint touch. He just had the ball stripped away off a good play from Barnes. So the Spurs would hit a dagger to go up 10 with under a minute to go, and you're going to see some too little, too late from Bam Adebayo, who's going to knock down a three-pointer off a nice driving kick from Davion Mitchell. This overall here is good offense. It's what we've been seeing the beginning of the season. As Davion gets the paint touch, he draws in Wemby, hits Bam for the three here. It's just frustrating that a lot Bam does this too little, too late thing where he'll kind of dress up the box score a little bit at the end of some of these games. This is just a shot you wish he could have hit a little bit earlier on, but I'm fine. It was just a rough shooting night from three for Bam. He's had other good games this year. He will bounce back. And on this last possession, of course, the game is already over, although the Heat are only down 6, but Bam's going to take this three-pointer that just hits all backboard again. The only reason I'm pointing this out is not to nitpick or hate on Bam, but it's just like, if you want to be a true shooter, you're going to hit at least the rim on this. You're not going to have 2 threes in the fourth quarter that hit all backboard, 1 3 that's an air ball. So again, as much as we give Bam credit for being a shooter and improving his game, he has a long ways to go before he wants to be even close to what Chris Bosh was. you got to at least hit rim on this. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm nitpicking because there's a lot of these from Bam. I feel like every game he has a 3 that looks like this. And in this game, he had a few of them. But that's all I got to say for this video. To reiterate once again, the Heat's clutch time offense should be improved once Norman Powell and Tyler Hero get back. I did actually see on FanDuel, you can bet on Norman Powell to win Clutch Player of the Year at plus 20,000. I think this Heat team might be in a lot of clutch games, and they don't have a lot of clutch scorers outside of Norman and Tyler Hero. So maybe Norman's a guy that gets a lot of opportunity, and at plus 20,000 odds, maybe you want to play a lottery ticket. I don't know. But make sure y'all like the video and subscribe because your support is greatly appreciated. Leave your thoughts down in the comments below, and I'll see y'all in the next video as the Heat have back-to-back videos in LA. So I will be staying up late. So I'll get y'all some post games on that. So I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out, everyone.
Look, pull up in your city, tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.